Wife Material Podcast. Qualifying to be a wife. Most females out here don't know that, one, they're not a woman because they need to learn to become one. They need to learn from their mistakes, or at least from other people's mistakes, other females' mistakes, so that way they don't make the same mistakes. That way they make better decisions. The thing about being a woman is that you make better decisions. You tend to make more rational, logical decisions than emotional. A female, by default, is emotional. By default, makes decisions based off their emotions, which usually is 90% negative emotions anyway. Therefore, the decisions are going to be negative. So if your emotions, on average, is negative, and you base your decisions based off your emotions, then that means your decisions are going to be negative. Negative means bad. That should be common sense, but it's not as common as it should be, right? So with that factor, it's like a woman is more reasonable, right? More logical. She learns to not rely on her emotions too much. Use it as a guideline to let her know that she might be making the wrong decision. Because if she feels a certain type of way, like she feels, oh, this guy doesn't feel like he's the right guy to get married with. Now, there could be the possibility, of course, that your emotion, right, your feelings, is warning you of something. But it's warning you more of your doubt. And your doubt tends to come from your lack of understanding, your lack of knowing something. So it's not that he ain't the right guy to marry, for example, but it's that you don't know if he's the right guy to marry because you haven't vetted him properly, right? You haven't gotten to know him well enough. Most females nowadays barely know guys' last names. And that used to be a guy thing, where guys barely knew females' first name, but sometimes they did know their first name, but didn't know their last names, right? So it's just the irony that's more now than before. Females are trying to be more like the guys of the past, and the bad guys of the past, not even the good guys of the past, the bad guys of the past. So it's kind of ironic, the whole like, oh, we want to be equal to men. Which men? The fuck boys? That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a big pattern of females trying to pretend to be and imitate fuck boys, but not real men, good quality guys, good guys. Most females don't try to imitate good guys. They just make a habit of trying to imitate the bad boys. And that's a contradiction because men aren't bad boys, right? That's why we call them bad boys and not bad men, right? That's why you always hear like, oh my God, bad boys, fuck boys. Where are all the good men? It's like, while we're saying that, why aren't we saying where are all the good boys, right? Where are all the good fuck boys, right? The reason we don't say that is because that's stupid. That's an oxymoron, right? That's a contradiction. It's like, if you're a fuck boy, you're not a man, and you're not good, right? Good as in good for relationship. I'm not saying that you're not a good person per se. You're just not good for relationship. So if a female is looking for a man, right, a good man for a long-term relationship to live happily ever after, then you're supposed to ignore the fuckboys, obviously, and look for the good men. And the good men are out there. More likely, the good men are already in your life. And then if there's men in your life that you consider to be good, like your brothers or your father or uncles or some male figure, maybe a teacher or something, that's a guy, right? And you see them as a good person, right? A good man. Then their advice, their judgment of who is and isn't a good man should be adhered to, Shit, it wouldn't be that hard for you to ask, like, I'll use this as an example. If you're in college, right, and, there's male teachers, well, hopefully there are male teachers, there's more female teachers nowadays than there used to be, but, let's say there's some male teachers, I mean, even maybe female teachers, but I would recommend male teachers more, to ask them, who is the best male student, right? Personality-wise, academically, right? Obviously good grades. You don't want to be, chasing after the boy with the with the low grades, right? You want the guy with the good grades, right? And see what happens. You'd be surprised. It might be one of the guys that you're like, oh God, he's not my type. Yeah, but notice that he is quality. The teacher told you that he's good quality. So he's a good guy, good man, even if he's not your type. The point is that if you're looking for a good man, then that's what a good man more likely is going to look like. He's more likely not going to be your type, but he's going to be the good man. Sometimes some people don't seem to understand nowadays that what makes somebody good usually is because they have a lot of bad experiences, and that teaches them to be better. So if a guy doesn't look good, for example, right, he's more likely going to have a great personality. He's probably going to be a really, really kind-hearted person. Why? Because life is constantly shitting on him. So of course, if he is strong enough to, turn that negativity into positive, he's going to be a positive person, right? Especially if he can handle it. Weak men, right? Weak people, that implies females as well, will let the bad things in their lives negatively affect them and give them the excuse and the the license to be a shitty human being. If you ever pay attention, most attractive males and females tend to be assholes. Assholes is not a good trait. That's a bad trait, right? So thinking somebody that's attractive is good, it's not. They're good on the outside, but doesn't mean they're good on the inside. You need to try to find a balance, or choose what quality you want. You want a good-looking guy who's an asshole, or you want a good guy who looks like an asshole, right? You know what I mean? Like, you want a guy who looks like an ass, who's a great person, or you want a guy who looks great but is an ass. The choice is yours. But the thing is, I understand that you ideally prefer a balance where you want the guy to look good and be good. Yeah, that would be nice, but think about how rare that is. Because like I just said, the reason why a good-looking guy is an asshole is because he is good-looking. People treated him so, like he's amazing and perfect and never can do wrong. So of course he's always going to do wrong. By default, if people can get away with doing bad things, they will. And good-looking people tend to get away with bad things all the time. So no surprise that good-looking people tend to be assholes. Common sense. But like I said, common sense is not as common as it used to be. Guys who are not that attractive tend to be really nice guys, right? Really awesome guys. Because life wasn't easy for them, right? They weren't treated, like they deserved anything. So then they worked hard to get what they have. So they're more grateful for what they do have. So if they have a attractive female come by and show them any attention, any affection, he's going to appreciate it. A less attractive guy is going to appreciate the attention of a female way more than a good-looking guy. Because a good-looking guy is used to females throwing themselves at him. So he's going to care less. He's the guy who's going to treat you like an object. He's the guy who's going to treat you replaceable and disposable. But that's the guys most of y'all females tend to chase. You know what I mean? And that's one of the importance of, being a woman, right? Qualifying to be a wife, because you got to be a woman first before you can be a wife. You can't be a female and try to be a wife, because being a female is essentially just, you're still mentally a child. You're still immature. You still haven't gained enough wisdom and knowledge to make better decisions. And not only that, but also to have skills, because being a wife is no different from any other career, any other job. You need skill sets to be a wife. You can't be a wife, or a proper one anyway. You could be a wife by title, but you can't be a wife by actual skill, right? There's tons of people out here that call themselves CEO, and they don't do CEO things. They're solo, right? It's them by themselves, doing some online e-commerce shit, right? Not saying that's wrong, just saying that That's probably all they're really doing, is just them selling shit online, and then they call themselves a CEO, even though they don't have people that rely on them for a paycheck, right? They don't have people that they are leaders of. The thing about being a CEO is that you're the leader of a business. You're in charge, and you got people who work for you, and you lead them, you know, like a real CEO, right? You're a chief executive officer. It makes no sense to be a chief executive officer of yourself. That's stupid. That's that TikTok bullshit. I'm the CEO of common sense, right? That's not true, but okay. But anyway, that's the thing. Like, yeah, you might get lucky, and some guy will give you the honor and the title of wife, but do you really qualify for it? Are you really in the position you deserve to be in? Right? You probably just got the position because you're attractive, right? There's the term called trophy wife. That's essentially what it is. A woman attractive enough, right, to the guy, right, or just in general, just like, oh my gosh, she's super hot. Many guys find her attractive. You know what? I'm gonna wife her up. Not because she has a great personality, not because she can cook and clean, or she's mother material, or any other factors that matter for her to be, you know, in the wife position. She just looks good, right? So having her as a wife just aesthetically makes me look better, because now I can go off, you know, it's the whole appearance thing. So most trophy wives tend to be trophy wives to you know, rich guys, not really poor guys. Poor guys, you know, there's no benefit to having a trophy wife as a poor guy, right? A guy who, you know, who live paycheck to paycheck. There's no benefit to having a trophy wife in that regards. I mean, not saying a guy at that level wouldn't want a trophy wife. Just saying that there's no practical use for it. If anything, that guy needs a wife, right? Needs a woman that can help him get out of his financial limitation and help him rise to a higher level. But yeah, like I said, like qualifying, because sometimes, you know, being a wife involves you upgrading the man himself, as opposed to just him upgrading you, right? You upgrading him, so that way, by default, you benefit from his achievements. So if let's say a guy does some YouTube videos, right? He does some science related stuff on YouTube. And that's cool and all, you know, he teaches about science on YouTube. That's cool, right? He makes a little bit of money there. But you could probably encourage him to turn that into a company. You know, I'll say, like, hypothetically, like Stark Industry or something, right? Turn it into like a big technology company where he makes all types of cool shit. Tons of cool shit. It makes billions and millions of dollars because of basically like Elon Musk, right? So you take a guy who makes science YouTube videos and turn him into Bill Nye the Science Guy, or turn him into Elon Musk or something like that. Bang, right? You upgraded him. You encourage him to go beyond his niche, right? Go beyond what he was currently doing when you met him. And by default, of course, you'll benefit from it, right? That's the idea. So that's one of the many, many things about, you know, qualifying. And most females nowadays don't qualify for much. Most females are actually losing the qualification for even dating, even just for dating, you know, dating for a couple months, you know, getting to know each other. Like, most females barely qualify for that. You know, most guys are trying to avoid even dating, avoid even talking to females and getting along. It's getting really, really dark for females out there in that aspect. Now, something I noticed, obviously, fortunate, there are many females out there, you know, who don't want that dark times to happen, right? They want to still get along with guys and, you know, have a bright future with the male species. So they're out here trying to get women to do better, you know, try to get females to get to the woman level, right? Try to tell them to level up and this and that, you know, work on your fitness, work on your personality, work on your social skills, work on your finances, work on other, if you have hobbies, that's good. Most females don't have hobbies. For many, many years, females barely had hobbies. They have responsibilities, right? They had things they did that they liked, but they didn't really have hobbies like that. That's more of a guy thing. But more females nowadays, are starting to have hobbies, which is fine. Especially if it's a hobby that matches the hobbies of, the guys that she like, or the type of guy she wants, like play video games or watch an anime or something like that. Those are, useful hobbies to have, because if you meet a really awesome guy who has those hobbies, then that's something you can share. It's not something you have to force yourself. You don't have to try to like their hobby. You will naturally like it because you yourself have the same interests. And then there's the opposites attract thing, where it's like there's things that you like that they don't like, and vice versa. But that's just because they never tried it. So then y'all share what y'all like with each other, until y'all mutually like it, right? And that's good, because y'all teaching each other, y'all making each other better by sharing y'all interests, sharing y'all life experiences. That's why it's important for females to understand this. Like, you're not your final form yet until you become a grandmother, but that's for a different conversation. But the point is, like, you haven't truly become a woman yet until you start, learning, things that guys like, learning, how to get along with guys, learning how to, use your feminine wilds, as they say, right? To their fullest. Most females act like dudes. Most females act like assholes, and that's not feminine. That's not a woman thing to do. And then most females still try to call themselves women. Still try to say that they're a real woman when they're not, because they're trying to imitate men and think that equals them being a real woman. It's like, no, being a real woman is understanding that you're not a man and that you do things differently, right? You deal with life differently because of your biology. Your biology is part of that, right? It's like being an alien from Mars or something, coming to Earth and then thinking you're equal to an Earthling, right? That you are the same as somebody who's from Earth. It's like, no, you're different. Your biology is different. Your heart is probably in a different location. You probably don't even have a heart. You probably have a lung that acts like a heart or something. So you have like, let's say 3 lungs, and 1 lung is filled with like blood and stuff, and that pumps the blood to the body. And it's like, so you have something kind of like a heart, but it's not an actual heart. You know what I mean? So, stuff like that. Like, your skin tone is different, your height is different. You might have 6 fingers and toes. Like, there's so much different from you that it makes no sense for a alien from Mars to be like, oh, I'm the same as a human. It's like, no, there's some similarities, but we're not the same. You're different. So that matters. So your experiences and how you experience life and how you function in life is different from me. It's the same thing as like somebody who lost a leg. Somebody who lost both their legs, well, they can't walk. So they're definitely different from somebody who does still have their legs, who can walk. Can't say we're the same, because we're not. I can walk, you can't. And that matters, because if you can't walk, especially if you can't walk upstairs, it makes sense that me going up and down stairs is going to be easier for me than it is for you. And that's something you have to understand. You have to understand that your biology does determine your limitations, what you can and can't do. But you can try to surpass your limitations, of course. But that just means you're working harder than somebody else who doesn't. I just saw a video, and at first I was like, I don't want to support this. But then at the same time, I was like, I want to root for her. Because this was this big chick. She was like 6 feet tall, 200 something pounds. She was muscular. And there was this guy who was like 5'8", 5'10". He was like 5'10", 180 pounds. But they had to lift these heavy balls from the ground onto a table. And competitively, of course, I want to root for the guy. Like, yeah, boys win. But at first I was like, when she got to the last ball, I still expected her to put it up there. Definitely expected her to struggle, but still wanted her to put it up there, just because I tend to root for people to succeed at something personally. But because this was a competition versus boys versus girls, right? Obviously I want to support the boys, right? But even though I started rooting for her, obviously the look on her face when it was his turn, and how she was expecting him to lose and fail. But I was like, no, do not fail us. Represent, lift that shit, hurt yourself in the process if you have to. Don't let her beat you. But that's just the whole competitive aspect, because I'm a guy, so of course I'm gonna root for the guy, but not saying that I didn't support the female, right, in the competition, from doing good. I wanted her to give it her all, even though when you looked at both people, she was like twice his size, she was taller than him. Like, you would expect that she would have the advantage, because she biologically looked bigger, stronger than him. So you expected her to succeed, right? But she didn't. And it's like, okay, that's the thing. There's limitations. Even when a female's taller, even when a female looks way more muscular than the guy still ended up winning. The funny thing is, the guy was actually giving her advice, like telling her like how to lift it so she can win. And it's like, and then he was like, "Oh wait, why am I helping you win?" You know what I mean? Like he realized the situation, and it's funny. They're like, "Yeah, why am I giving her tips? Why am I helping her, try to win?" So that was funny, but the guy won, and he barely struggled lifting the weights and stuff like that. Even though, like I said, she looked way stronger. But looks can be deceiving. Just because she looks stronger doesn't mean she actually was. That's a lesson learned, and that applies to men too, right? You see a guy who looks strong versus a guy who looks weak. There's a possibility that a guy who looks weak is actually stronger than a guy who looks strong. So looks can be deceiving. But again, biology matters. That's why I'm talking about biology. Just using this as an example of like the differences of that biology makes. Even when someone looks strong, they could actually not be strong, right? There could be a level of weakness in their muscles, right? So by biology, females' muscles tend to be a lot more, I think, more for stamina, less for power. So guys' muscles are more for power, less for stamina, right? So this is why guys tend to lift a lot of the heavy stuff, why females tend to do a lot of the logistics, right? Stuff that requires you to spend hours doing, like cooking and cleaning, right? That takes a lot of stamina, a lot of time. I mean, I've seen footages from back in the day of females, working on the farm and stuff like that. And, I'm seeing them, just doing medial tasks, doing repetitive tasks over and over again for long periods of time. Sometimes you see images of females, obviously unfortunately during slavery, picking cotton more than you saw the guys, because the guys were doing a lot of the heavy work while the females were doing a lot of the repetitive stuff, right? So again, that's the thing. The difference between men and women, obviously biologically, is men are designed more for power, heavy lifting, and females are more for stamina, more for longevity. So we have our strengths, right? Just like if we were to say guys are designed for lifting heavy stuff, or women are designed for speed, like they're designed to run faster, then shouldn't be surprised if a female athlete is faster than a male athlete because of biology. I wouldn't be surprised that the fastest man alive Usain Bolt, if I'm right, I think I pronounced his name right. Usain Bolt probably will lose to most females because the biology is probably there. Most females tend to be lighter in weight, even though next to a guy they might look the same size as the guy, but on a scale they might be like 50 pounds lighter, and that could make a huge difference between, you know, being fast or slow. I mean, 50 pounds lighter, you definitely should be faster. So that's the thing. Like I said, the chick who looked way bigger and stronger than the dude wasn't stronger than the dude. All right? So that's the thing. Looks can be deceiving. You know, muscles look strong, but they weren't as strong as they could have been. But like I said, qualifying to be a wife, you know, you really gotta put in some thought into it. You know, if you want to be a wife, again, you know, I'm always supporting the idea of choice. It's like, you want to be a career woman, do it. You want to be a wife, do it. It should be about choices, right? You know, because the funny thing is, it's always weird to hear feminists talk about the idea of like if women in the past never had choices and men did, and it's like everybody had choices. There was men who chose not to be husbands. Let's not assume that every man was a husband, that every woman was a wife. Not every woman was a wife. There was tons of women that they were single, childless, with cats, and they were cat ladies. That's why we call them cat ladies. That's literally all they had in their life was them and cats. They ain't have no friends. They ain't have no love, right? They have no significant other. They had no kids, mostly. I mean, there are the ones who did have the husband and kids thing, but they lost their husband. The kids, you know, are grown and out the house, so then they have not much left, and then, you know, they resorted to collecting cats and became a cat lady, which is unfortunate for those scenarios, because that's unfortunate, you know, that the woman who chose the path of, you know, wife did still ended up being a cat lady at the end of her life. But at least she has way less regrets than the cat lady, like the official cat lady, the one who chose the life of a loner, the single life, the hot girl summer and all that other stuff. That's the one that has the most regrets. So that's the one that suffers the most, because the only thing, you know, on average, when it comes to the woman who chose the path of you know, housewife. Not saying that being a housewife is a better choice. I'm just saying that it is a choice, but we see pattern-wise that it does seem to be. It just turns out to be a little bit more worthwhile than to be single. I mean, if you could be single and live a great life until the bitter end, then so be it. Not against it, you know. Not saying marriage is for everybody. Not saying being a wife is for everybody. Just saying that for most people, for most females, it is. Being a wife is one of the best things you can do in your life, right? And being a mother, obviously, great achievement, you know, especially if you're an amazing mother and you do great in raising your children, so that way the future of the human race is populated by great human beings. The irony, most females don't want to have kids because they see the world being bad, and then they're like, oh, I don't want to have kids. I want to bring kids into this world, and it's like, and this world is bad. It's like, but the thing is, your kids are supposed to replace the people that's bad in this world. The people that's bad in this world are not going to last forever. They're going to die eventually. And you should have kids so they replace these people. And your kids should be awesome because you should have, you know, obviously raised them to be awesome. If you're an awesome person, your children should be awesome. If you're a shitty person, I agree, don't reproduce because you're just adding more shitty people into the population. But if you're a good person, don't use the whole, oh, everybody else is bad, therefore I'm not going to reproduce because, you know, don't want my good offsprings to be around the bad offsprings. It's like, no, we need the good offsprings to offset the bad offspring. Hopefully the good offsprings will convince the bad offsprings to be better. Think about it. think about a good wife with a shitty husband is still going to produce relatively decent human beings, relatively decent children, because there's at least still one positive light. There's still one of the parents is still good, right? It's better when both parents are good, obviously, but as long as one parent is good, the children have a better chance. Especially because the whole idea is to show the difference between good and evil, right? Bad versus good. So you need a good parent to show what being good is, and the other parent clearly is going to demonstrate what being bad is. And obviously the idea is to always encourage good behavior. And I know this from personal experience because I've helped people, raise children. I've raised people's children for them and whatnot. So I've done a lot to teach and make the world a better place, because I want better humans. That's one of my solutions to the problems of the world, is to have better humans. So that's why I'm making this podcast, for example, where I'm trying to help people who want to do better, who want marriage, who wants to be a wife, who wants to be a husband, right? Who wants to be part of the solution to the problem of the world. If the world's full of shitty people, then we need to fill it with good people. And the way you do that is literally by making new people, by reproducing. That's what sex is for. It's to reproduce. It's not for fun. It's not for love. It's for reproduction. Can you have sex for fun? Of course you could. Not saying that sex can't be fun, obviously. It's still an activity, but it's about the logic of, like, if you get pregnant, there's a reason for it. I hate it when I hear females talking about that they're not ready for children, or they wouldn't make a good mother, or they don't know how to be a mother, and this and that. There's like 99% of females in history didn't know how to be mothers until they became one. That's the whole point. You get pregnant and then you learn to become a mother. You're not supposed to be a mother before you have children. You're supposed to have a child, then learn to be a mother. The child is literally what teaches you how to be a mother. Your first child is where you learn most, it's where you make most of your mistakes from. Your second, third child, is where you tend to do better. You refine your motherhood. But your first child is where you learn, and you don't want to, and that's the thing, when it comes to your first child, you don't want to make too many mistakes. So you try your best to not make any mistakes. And this is why I understand the hesitant for most females to not want to, have children, because they feel, they don't want to fail. They don't like the idea of being wrong or losing. So, of course, I get that. But I'm not saying that that's a justifiable excuse for not having kids. It's like, no, you should still have kids. You need to learn the hard way. Would it be nice if y'all could learn things the easy way? Of course. That's why you listen to females who do have kids, who are married and living happy ever after. Listen to them, learn from them, right? But a lot of times, you're going to have to learn things the hard way. That's how the human race got to this point in history, is we learn things the hard way. We learn what was right and what's wrong, right? That's why you have people out here on the internet complaining about what's wrong and what's right. Having a whole bunch of debates left and right about what should happen and what shouldn't happen in society. All I'm saying is that we all have choices. Females definitely had way more choices back in the day before feminism. Feminism actually reduced y'all choices, because feminism convinced y'all that the best choice is to be single, is to compete with men instead of cooperating with men, instead of working with men, instead of being an equal to men. Because the idea of being equal is that y'all the same, that y'all on the same level, that y'all agree on the same things. The fact that we see a whole bunch of feminists constantly disagreeing with men, or guys in general, is proof that, y'all don't believe in equality. Y'all want something different, clearly. And hey, to each their own. I'm not saying that if a female wants to be a feminist or wants to, live her life without a man, it's fine. Do you. Just please do me the favor of not promoting the idea that every female needs to be a feminist. That every female needs to agree to stay away from men. Like this bullshit. As well as, please stop convincing these guys out here to be feminists. That's stupid. But whatever. I'm doing the best I can with what I got, right? All I could do is put information out there, let people know what's going on, let them know about the past, let them know about the present, and, give them some advice for the future, and hopefully they'll make the better choices. And that's all I'm offering to the ladies that listen to my podcast is I'm offering y'all options. I'm letting you know what y'all need to know so that way y'all can make better choices. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what you're capable of doing, what you could be doing when you choose to. If you choose to be a wife, there's things you got to know, things you got to think about, things you got to consider, right? You might want to consider the health of your husband, right? Of yourself, of your children. If you go that route, have kids, the health of society, how you in your marriage affects the world, right? It affects your community, it affects your country, right? Especially if you're patriotic and you love your country, you believe in supporting your country, and you believe your country is awesome and great, then you should want it to survive. And the way countries survive is with people. If you're not reproducing new people, the country's not going to survive. The country's not going to do well. Part of the problem in America right now is people not wanting to get along and not wanting to reproduce, that we are literally running out of people. COVID has killed tons of Americans. We're dropping in population, which means at some point we're going to be so little of a population. We're going to have so few humans in America that the rest of the world is going to be like, oh, there's plenty of space in America. Let's go over there. And then there's going to be an offset where there's going to be more people who are from out of America, from other countries, coming here and buying up properties and this and that, third, and start changing. I wouldn't be surprised start ending up seeing around Florida being more of a Latin area, and then seeing like the Texas area, let's say, being a little more Asian, and then the list goes on, and let's say more up here in New York and Washington DC and stuff like that, be a little more Russian. I won't be surprised if that happens in the next 10-20 years, because it just means that the rest of the world is coming to America and literally taking over and breaking into sections and turning it into China 2.0, right? Russia 2.0, all right? Like, you gotta think about that. And that's mainly because we have less and less of the people that we normally would have here representing America. So at some point, we're going to be invaded, right? People are going to take over. But one way we can prevent that, right? One way we can keep the balance and keep it where America is America, and of course other, races, right, are welcome to America. It's just that we gotta, keep the balance. We can't let America get taken over, as it were, right? Can't let it end up being just free real estate, as they say, and have the rest of the world just take a piece of America and put their own flag on it. And then it's like, damn, America used to be, a place where everybody can get along, where everybody can coexist. But now it's separated, segregated by different races, to the point where it became another Europe, essentially, right? Where you have Europe, Asia, and all that stuff. You got all these different parts and different cultures in the European area, European continent. Now America is broken down into different sections. So, just something that I'm noticing. And if you're in America, you'll want America to be great, as they say, right? Let's literally make America great again by reproducing, by men and women getting along, by husband and wife and stuff. Make that work. Because the thing is, we're making it not work. We're letting marriages fail. And unfortunately, ladies, I'm going to, and this is the truth, this is a fact, it has been proven time and time again, that unfortunately it is the ladies that are responsible for why marriages aren't working. Guys are trying to make it work. Y'all are the ones leaving. Y'all are the ones that, are not being traditional, right? You're not the ones who see the value in marriage. Y'all see it, negatively, not positively, which is unfortunate. It should be seen positively because it is a positive thing. Again, if you choose that path, it's a great path. But you got to make it great. You can't just be like, oh, I choose to be a housewife and it should be easy peasy. I shouldn't have to do anything. It should just be, easy. It's like, no. Because it's the same thing as feminists trying to convince women that, having a job, right, not being a housewife is better because it's supposed to be easier. You get to make the decisions. You control this, you control that, blah, blah. And most of y'all already found out the hard way, it ain't easier. It ain't easier. Y'all starting to experience what we as men experience. The thing is that we're used to it. We're built for it. We're raised for the hardship. We're raised for the stress of working. Females are typically not born and raised for that. But y'all are the ones being convinced that that's the best route, which is not. If you can handle it, yeah, it's for you. But if you can't handle it, then it's not for you. And that's the thing. If you try, because one of the things that I mentioned before in my podcast is that you can't hate the idea of being a wife if you never tried it. You can't be against it and think that it's not the best for you, that being a career woman is better for you than being a wife, because the thing is you never tried being a wife. You haven't tried it first. You haven't, practiced being a wife, and that's the thing about dating. You could practice being a wife, while you're dating, right? You could practice learning how to get along with a guy, how to, make him better, make yourself better in the process, and so forth and so forth, right? All the things that comes from, being with somebody else, because it's a team thing, right? It's a team activity. Marriage is a team activity. It's not a individual thing. So it's not you versus your husband. It's you and your husband versus the world. And the problem is most females are convinced that it is them versus us, right? Males versus female. The gender war was created by females. Guys didn't start the gender war. Guys are trying to end the gender war. The gender war was created by females. This is y'all doing. And since y'all started it, y'all the ones who can stop it, right? Men are trying to convince y'all to stop it. And most of y'all are just continuing it and trying to keep it alive. Most of y'all love and thrive off of the war. And that's unfortunate. The old saying, misery loves company. So most females who are miserable in their lives are going to try to keep the gender war going so they can try to keep as many females single, right? Keep as many females miserable so that way they're not alone. That way they have people they can talk to about how bad men are, when in reality, y'all don't know what men are. Y'all never been with real men. Y'all probably messed around with a whole bunch of douchebags, a bunch of immature boys, right? Fuck boys, and then label them as men when they're not men. Men are not things you talk negatively about, because men are the best among the boys. right? It's boys to men, not men to boys. It's boys to men. So you go from being a boy to being a man. You go from being a girl to being a woman, right? You become these things, and not just by getting old. You become these things by getting wise and mature, wisdom, knowledge. That's what makes you a man. That's what makes you a woman. It's more mental than it is physical. But anyway, hopefully in the near future, more females will understand that. More men will understand that. I'll definitely be promoting that a lot, especially on TikTok, correcting people when they're saying like, men this, men that, women this, women that. It's like, no. What you're talking about are not men. What you're talking about are not women. So stop bringing men and women into these conversations, into these issues that y'all children, y'all boys and girls, y'all immature adults, y'all males and females are having. These are male and female issues, and y'all created it with y'all ignorance, y'all immaturity, y'all childishness, right? Y'all haven't grown up to be a man. You haven't grown up to be a woman yet. You haven't learned what it takes to be a man, what it takes to be a woman. And that's why you're having problems and issues. Men and women don't have problems. Men and women are problem solvers. Men and women are the final solution to the male and female issues, right? When you become a man, you don't have problems. You have solutions. When you become a woman, you don't have problems. You have solutions. That's the whole point. And that'll be the end of the podcast for now.